we're still looking at the Astro HD natal chart, but this is now the foundation quantum view. And if you watch the previous two videos about the natal chart from the astrological perspective, well, you will have heard me talk about the fact that we've produced Astro HD for the purist astrologers, but also from the perspective of the human design mechanics and how that impacts the astrological overlay. So this foundation quantum view is Astro HD from the perspective of human design, with the astrological information and that great experiential reference database also added in, but through the mechanical lens of human design. And I would say arguably this makes this chart that you're looking at here the most accurate astrology chart there is, because this is now astrology based on definition. And we know in human design, if you have a gate or an activation in an undefined center, that center is inanimate. It only becomes animate when some form of conditioning impacts that. That could be a transit or personal conditioning through some auric contact. So this word foundation is the equivalent in terms of astrology to natal, and thus it has quite an impact in terms of the same astrological view that we looked at from the pure astrological perspective that assumes that every planetary activation is always there. Well, we know that's not the case. Activations in undefined centers come and go. The quality of that activation in the undefined center is sometimes there and it's sometimes not there. So this is why looking at this chart relative to the natal quantum video, a lot of things have changed. It's a very similar display. Remember, this is quantum, so it is the personality activations that are calculated at the exact moment of birth, and it is the design activations here calculated at this point 88 degrees of the sun before birth. These two are juxtaposed. So the bottom right there, you will see the human design body graph for this person, Elon Musk, which shows the juxtaposition of the personality and the design. And of course, out of the body graph activations that you can see there, this is what drives the human design information in these two areas. So we have the type, pure manifesting generator, well, you can see that now in a body graph with this charisma channel and his responding sacral authority. His profile is a 3-5. Definition single, with this right angle cross of service 2 incarnation cross. It's the second variation of the service cross because the sun is in the 52, which is in the quarter of civilization or form. And what will fulfill him is to do with bringing new things into form, making the forms of things more efficient. And look at the incredible things that he has produced. Electric vehicles, of course. Now, the astrological activations in the two database columns, personality and design, are of course exactly the same as the natal views, but you will see something very different here. If we go down to the moon, for example, his moon is in the 64th gate and 4th line. This is the line of conviction. But this moon is in an undefined center. So this Virgo activation is not active all of the time. So this is why this moon symbol is white. It's showing that it's in an undefined center. And yes, when it's active, it's in the 7th house, but you can't guarantee when that conditioning is there and when it comes out. And when it comes out, of course, of an undefined center, it's always turned on and amplified in that center. So anything in our design that's in an undefined center is not something truly we can ever rely upon. It is an aspect of us, but it's certainly not a reliable aspect. And certainly with the head center where the 64th gate is, well, there's only 3 possibilities of channels here. So he can go quite a long time without any activations in this 64, and thus this Virgo moon just doesn't exist. And we know how important the moon is in terms of astrology. Then moving down the list, the north node is in an undefined center. The south node, that's not included on the astrological view of this information, is now there. So of course in human design we know that this represents what he's designed to see in the environment out there, and it's a movement from south to north, with the Uranus opposition being the trigger point for the shift between the south node and the north node. Both of those are in an undefined self-center. So you can see, looking down this list, there are quite a lot of planets here in undefined centers. Mars, for example, Pluto. Chiron is never inside a human design body graph, but we've left it here on the data column because Chiron is a significant marker planet in terms of human design, and many people want to see that on this particular chart. But you won't see the black moon on here or any of the other data points like midheaven, ascendant, descendant, and imum coli. These are not relevant for human design. And you can see, if I go back to the moon now, yes, those purple lines are there showing that it has triggered the aspects table bottom left, but because it's in an undefined center, there are no aspects. You cannot describe an aspect of someone's nature if it's not there, if it's not on. So this is why this aspects table is much less dense than the astrological natal aspects table, because we're only showing aspects that are active. So moving back down to Mercury, you can see there the mercurial aspects relative to the other planets that are active. And that's why if you look in this Mercury column on the aspects table, there's nothing there in Pluto, because Pluto is in an undefined center, so that aspect actually doesn't exist. Whereas on the natal quantum view, that Mercury-Pluto aspect is listed as a quintile. Because remember, all of the natal views assume that all of the planets are active all of the time, which is how astrology operates. And of course, all of these activations, the sun, the earth, and so on, are inside the wheel, and thus the 2 house rings and the zodiac ring are still there because they're of value in terms of astrology overlaid with human design. Then the gate activation, the only difference there is that we've now added the center colors on active planets. So you can see that the 34th gate is active there, the sacral is red on the body graph, and the ring just below that is indicating the lines activated in that 34th gate. The lines always run from right to left. First line is right to the 6th line on the left. So he has the 34th gate and first line with Neptune consciously, and the 34th gate and third line with Neptune unconsciously. It's a similar story on the design side, the red body column of numbers. Everything that's white with a red outline is in an undefined center. So his design sun is in an undefined Ajna center, which means that that Aries is not shining out all of the time. It's only shining out when the Ajna is activated. Similarly with the north and south nodes, Venus, Pluto, and Chiron. All undefined center activations. And you will never see Chiron as active in terms of this foundation quantum view, because Chiron is not inside the body graph itself, and thus even though we list a gate and a line there, that's purely for illustration purposes. Chiron is never active as part of a definition, because it's not an imprinting planet from the perspective of human design. Lastly, always pay attention to the house system. Again, I will reiterate that if you want a different house system like the equal house, then go into your settings and change it to the house system that you require. And of course, given that this is human design with astrological layered on top, this is a tropical calculation, but you can create any of these Astro HD charts using any of the other calculation systems, sidereal, 13 sign sidereal, and true sidereal. But always keep it on tropical if you are coming to this from a human design perspective.